Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BETSPERTS.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, third pod of the week out of four. We got another surprise.
Another bonus pod. Well, it's not much of a surprise. Bronner's blabbing all over because we told him we could. But yeah, we're gonna do another bonus pod. Hardest working guys in gambling Twitter. 4 pods in a week, plus halftime shows, plus other stuff.
Doing brown bag.
Obviously, the hockey one was a lot of fun. We learned a lot. It's funny. I just pulled up Twitter before I was going to shut it down. And somebody commented about Montreal is plenty fun at the moment, he says, because we had talked about the COVID restrictions in Canada right now. So maybe the Montreal flu will be a thing, but yes, we are back. It is NFL Wednesday. We're going to go through most of the games. There are some shit ones. We'll probably skip over some goofy. Some of these are just going to be goofy markets based on like the quarterback stuff. Like honestly, Denver, Pittsburgh, I don't think we can give you a very good picture outside of what's going to, like, you really, really need to know what's going on. There are some massive differences between the starters and the backups on that. And it's hard to get a solid handicap on a Wednesday, especially
we're seeing, if you're streaming defensive teams in the NFL, pick one of those two.
Yeah, pick one of those. Twitch Gang is live today. Spartan, Sid, there we go. The Twitch is growing every day. If you're not over in the Twitch yet, you are well behind the curve. And
that's not to look past our amazing YouTube friends. So
no, they're good too. I mean, YouTube. Twitch is like hip and now with it and wow, I guess.
Ooh.
I don't know. You can do better emojis over there, but
I don't know what that is that you just said, but it felt a little cringe. I gotta be honest.
It's from a local TV. It's a local sports radio thing. It's like a 50-year-old dude that does that. So
that checks out entirely.
He's a Lions fan too, so he's not even from here. Anybody? Shout out the Common Man if anyone is from Minnesota.
Ooh.
Frank Brank says the Twitch. Yeah, we're gonna let some people populate in here before we get too deep into it. But I'm excited because our Sunday plays all gathered some. They went out amongst the fields and gathered some CLV. It's not CLV until the line closes, technically.
True.
But they gathered some. It's almost like once was physics, potential energy. It's potential CLV.
Ooh, that's good.
I like potential CLV because definitely the Thursday night or the London game was lined a little too low. The Bengals game is getting steamed up as well, and then also I bet Tennessee 3.5. They're up to 4.5.
Nice work by you.
Despite no wide receivers. Real quick question, Frank.
Although AJ Brown was limited. AJB was limited.
He practiced today, yeah. I think that probably helps too.
Cowboys best team in the NFL, best offense in the NFL that's not led by Pat Mahomes. I think Cowboys are the number 2 offense in the NFL, and I don't think it's really a debate. What do you think?
I wrote that in my power, like they were the biggest jump in my power rankings today. I said, if the defense is even mildly good, like they could win the NFC just because this offense is going to be so much fun. Cowboys are the best team in Texas. I'll give you that. And
by a margin that's tough to quantify because how bad is Houston really?
We had that conversation offline.
Yeah. And who's the question is, who's the second best team in Texas? Is it the University of Texas or is it the Houston Texans? Because it's kind of a college football roster with Brandon Cooks and Laramie Tunsil. So let's continue. Let's actually, before we, now as long as we're talking macro, you had any futures this week? You had any MVP bets? Is this because this week feels consequential, particularly in the AFC? If you're populating your AFC market, give me your read on what happens with the AFC futures market pending this, but both sides of this Sunday Night Football game, which is obviously a lot more important than last week's Sunday Night Football game, despite the fanfare.
Yeah, I don't know if it's super consequential. I don't think one of them is going to drop off the face. I mean, they're both pretty similar prices right now. If I had to look, I'm guessing KC and Buffalo are pretty close. Probably,
I think if Buffalo wins, you can pretty much put in pen. That's your 1 seed in the AFC, though. right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
based on
if they
schedule,
a win for
anything
them,
can happen though.
a win for them, their number comes down aggressively. I would say their the probability of them landing first overall, considering the rest of their schedule, is doo easy.
It is too easy.
I think, and on the flip side,
people want to bet. Public money wants to bet the Chiefs, though. I don't think you can adjust those too aggressively. Otherwise, you're going to take a big Chiefs liability and then an injury or a slip up by the Bills, and you're sitting on a big Chiefs liability when they slide into the 1 seed by accident. There's an extra game to do it this year. So while I agree with you, I don't think the move would be outrageous.
Okay.
I thought you were going to bring up our conversation from earlier. You asked me about.
Yeah, no, I was going there next. Yeah.
Go ahead and ask me then.
NFC. My picture of the NFC has changed, considering again some of the difficulty of the schedules and some of the results we have so far. The fact that the Niners, Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks are as tightly bunched as they are in terms of overall team power rating now has me projecting the winner of that division to get the 4 seed, which makes it that much tougher than to claw your way through the NFC Championship game, because almost certainly at that point you're taking on the best of the wild cards, who's
in your division.
Cards. Probably in your division, you get another division game. Right?
Yep.
You're going to be a small home favorite in your, in your head-to-head there, and then you're going to have to go on the road if you expect to get to the Super Bowl, which makes it that much tougher for all 4 of those teams. And then on the flip side, that means somebody moves up into that likely 2 spot. I still have the Bucs, the head and shoulders favorite to get the 1.
Yeah,
their schedule is super easy still. What's your guess as to who the 2 seed I have currently most likely landing in the 2?
Well, I didn't have as big of an advantage as you, but I agree with you. I do have Dallas as my probable 2 seed, and like when you asked me to look at futures, I showed some value on there, but I showed bigger value on a few AFC teams. But
okay.
I was looking at an 8-1. You quoted a 9-1. Yeah, at 9-1, Dallas. I would agree with you. Dallas is a play to win the NFC at 9-1. If you can find that, there's some bad numbers. Like there's some 7s out there. Don't settle for that. Hunt around. There are some 9s to win. So I think it's Dallas just edging out Green Bay a little for the 2 seed. And really between the 2, 3, and 4 seed, probably not a real big difference until you end up in that, that second game. And truthfully, even that, there's not a big home field advantage built in this year anymore at all. So
yeah,
probably not a massive difference between 2, 3, and 4. If I bet Dallas right now, I don't feel too bad about them ending up in the 3 seed rather than the 2. I don't see it as a big difference. The only difference would be they'd have to go play at Green Bay if that happened. So
right,
yeah. So did you play some? I played some. I put some Dallas.
You know what I did? I played some to cover my Tampa Bay stake from preseason.
I don't even have Tampa Bay stakes.
I poo-pooed Dallas future on Sunday's show because of the McCarthy coaching blunder, which is inevitably coming in the playoffs. The problem is if they have 2 home playoff games as the 2 seed, then the likelihood that they are your opponent as the Bucs in the AFC title game, I think, is pretty high. I guess the question becomes, if the Packers are the 3 seed, do the Packers go to Dallas in that 2-3 matchup and get a head-to-head win and then move on to the Bucs? And if you force my hand, I say probably that's how that goes down. I think the Cowboys probably win their first round home game and then lose at home to the Packers, which would be quite elegant for Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy to have that type of a reunion in round 2 of the playoffs.
That would be fun.
That would be and even more fun if Dallas is the 3 seed and they have to go to Lambeau and Mike McCarthy heads back into that environment. But either way, I think those 2 teams are on a collision course for round 2 of the playoffs as the 2 and 3 seed. And again, the Bucs haven't looked great. The Bucs are like having a cluster injury at the defensive backs. I faded the Bucs this week, but still ultimately like they're doing just enough to win these games. And the likelihood that they'll scrape it together. Yeah, they'll get it together as we get deeper into the season, I think.
Yeah.
One other quick question.
And truthfully, the other fly in the ointment, and a team that I also showed, the 3 other teams I showed some value on in the futures market to win their respective conferences were Arizona, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. And just because Cincinnati there was some 50 to 1s out there.
That's a big number.
It's a big number. And it just, I don't have them at a very high percentage of winning the conference. It would be a big ask with that offensive line and that bad of a coach, but 50 to 1 it was like, it's a bad number, but I'm not betting it.
The market says they have a shot this week against the Packers. The market says that they're live in that game. I don't agree with
it was
that,
one of those where I show value. I just
win.
I can't bet that. So
if they beat the Packers head to head, that 50 to 1s gets short real quick. I guess one last question then about the AFC. Are you going to add Baltimore, and is now the ideal time? Because the Baltimore Ravens do not leave the Baltimore area for a month and a week. In fact, their next road game is like November something 10th, I think. They go to Miami or something
13th.
like that.
I have the same date.
So 5 weeks now, 4 home games and a bye they get in Baltimore, which is pretty amazing. They then follow that, though, by the way, with 4 and 5 on the road. But is there anything about this team that because they've weathered some bad injury luck, and yet here they are, 3-1, a 55-yard field goal from Dan Carlson away from 4-0. Is it important to grab either Lamar MVP or Baltimore AFC at this point in time? Or do you think
it wasn't a massive edge? It was like, I have them at like 550. It's 750 in the market. Like it wasn't huge. I'm not too excited about it because
aside though, is this the buy low?
It would be. If you wanted it, I would take it now. Although there might be some 10 to 1s after they get through that rough stretch. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is going to look so good for like 3-4 weeks, and then they're going to hit the rough stretch, and it might just go back to like 10 to 1 as other teams glide towards the 1 and 2 seeds and also towards winning their division when Baltimore is looking more like a certain wild card, but not a team that could be doing damage in January. So probably staying away from that, but I would agree if you wanted it, now's the right time. And then, Arizona could be the fly in the ointment in this NFC picture you painted. So if they are going to stay healthy and just play this good, especially on offense, and take advantage of everything that other teams are doing, that
super conditional on Kyler Murray staying healthy.
Yeah, like that. That's the thing. They have a long tail to being the third best team in that division if he gets hurt.
Yeah, right. And they have 5 more games against the NFC West, which are all coin flips, including this week, where I think they join the ranks of the rest of the NFL teams with a loss in the loss column.
Shall we?
Let's do it. Let's start at the top with Thursday Night Football, which is another NFC West matchup. Didn't have much appetite getting involved in this one early, even though we did project the Rams were going to be the hot side here. I don't have a ton of holy crap, it's out to 2.5. If it gets to 3, my eyes will pop, and I'll probably bet the Seahawks if it gets to 3. And it's trending that way. You got to lay 150.
It certainly is.
You want the Rams right now. Action looks pretty one-sided here. Again, kind of surprising because Russell Wilson has done nothing to prove, anyone. Yeah, he's done nothing but dispel his doubters in prime time at home. Like, that's his time to shine. He always tends to overperform in those spots. I'm not saying that's a reason to go bet the Seahawks, but people are pretty certain that the Rams are the better team here by a meaningful margin if the Seahawks have less than a 50-50 chance to get a home primetime win. What do you make of this line? What do you make of this spot? And how or are you going to attack this game?
I make value on Seattle. I can't get out to 2.5. I'm certainly looking at it. If I were to bet this, especially if it just maintained at 2.5, again, I'm the kind of guy who won't be taking the points when it's under 3. I would just bet the money line. Although I'd shop around because I think you could get a plus 120, plus 125 if you really looked around. And honestly, if it were out there in the market and some places were at 3 and some are at 2.5, maybe a little bit on plus 125, a little bit on plus 3. But as it is now, I'm probably going to stay away from this. I did tease this with the Vikings this morning. This is the leg I like the most. Home I'm getting a couple of home teams. I don't believe in the Rams defense. The thing that we really saw that we finally got to see was the Rams defense is probably not elite. It can be beaten. Obviously, Arizona was able to take advantage of some turnovers, which is a little, sometimes can
Fluky,
skew.
not repeatable.
It's not repeatable. It can screw up the box score a little, but good teams take advantage and score off turnovers. That's what good teams do. And we do believe Arizona's a good team. We think everybody in this division is a good team. The Seahawks are maybe the most questionable out of them based on some of the coaching. Chris Carson with a neck injury, maybe trending towards out, which normally I would be like, oh, good. Maybe they'll throw the ball more. But honestly, with this coaching staff, I'm just worried that they're just going to trot whoever out there and just run again, which would suck because it'd be, their running has been kind of minus EV in general. And if they're going to use a worse back to do it, that might make me be regretting this teaser. But again, numbers play, I can't get there. I hopefully just Seahawks at home, primetime. It might be a I get this teaser and I needed it kind of thing where, Rams win by a touchdown just because it doesn't matter what my numbers say. The coaching disadvantage is probably going to come into play at some point, possibly late. So hopefully this is just tied going into like the last 5 minutes. Then I won't give a shit.
Is there really a coaching advantage ultimately in terms of this game and the way it plays out? Because I agree with you that Seattle's conceptual approach lends them to be the team that's going to have to come from behind. But McVay's anti-aggressiveness probably leaves the door open for them. And Russell Wilson in comeback mode, I'll take some of that. That's kind of a nice that's kind of a nice game state. I guess that plays in maybe our second half.
It is, and it is similar to maybe a second half play. It is similar to the Green Bay game against the Niners, where when Rodgers had the ball, it's like you're never worried about like some fluky turnover where it goes the other way. Like you're shitty. They're like, well, either he wins this or we cover. Like, Russell Wilson with the ball down 6. Obviously, I'm within the teaser number. I'm feeling fine. But if you took the points or the money line, I'm feeling pretty good about that situation, especially with what I've said about this defense. So I'll be teasing it. I do lean towards Seahawks money line. I pushed out, didn't play either of the NFC West money lines I liked last week, and now I'm regretting it. I don't want to just overreact and just snap back and be like, oh, now I need to do it, then watch them both lose by 2 points.
I mean, in the back of my head, I am secretly hoping that the NFC West favorites go 0-12 this year. That would be just absolutely delightful for me. I would just be delighted Tremendous. By that. I think realistically, I think the Seahawks are the side. It's Seahawks or nothing. Ultimately, for me, it's nothing, but it doesn't have to do with any concerns or matchup disadvantages. I just the Seahawks defense is not as good as they looked last week against the Niners. They're not. And there is a world where it isn't a matter of McVay being aggressive. Every third down gets completed. Every third down pass to Cooper Kupp is easy.
And this is a better offense than the Niners.
Yeah, right. Yes. And Stafford is definitely better than Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and Cooper Kupp is definitely better than the Deebo Samuel experience, even though Deebo Samuel's good player. Cooper Kupp's just at a different level right now. That said,
London.
Yep. Pass. Hard pass, but we'll pass.
Well, we already bet it.
No, I meant Rams Seahawks.
Hard pass on that. I was going to say this.
Yeah, this one was an easy play.
We got yes run first inning already. There we go.
Oh, did we? Oh, really? Oh, that
I think that. I mean, just looking at the timing, maybe it's the second inning by now. No, we're talking top of the first. We've got a run. Here we go. All right. Jets Atlanta.
RISP, yes.
RISP, yes. New Jersey, Atlanta. That's not what that says. New York Jets. New Jersey is where they play their home games, though. In London, we've gone over the traveling spots for both teams. It appears both teams are actually kind of being smart about the travel. They're getting there early. They're acclimating themselves. I don't think there's an advantage one side or the other. I've seen some sharp money on the Jets, which is fine. Elijah Moore is trending towards getting healthy here soon. I don't know if he'll play. I don't know if it matters in this game. This is going to be ugly. This total opened 43. We took 43 and a half on the over. I don't know if the middle is a plus EV play. There's a question in the chat. I mean, 44, 45 certainly are numbers that land. I'd have to go look at my chart on totals. There's no real key numbers like there are on sides, but 40, 44, 45 certainly are semi-key. I'm not looking at a middle. I'm just going to stick with my over position here. Truthfully, the Falcons should have gotten beat worse than they did last week. That was a goofy game. And really, like, not being able to guard your quarterback at all against a defense that the only thing they can do is pass rush. The fact that the Falcons look that decent on offense kind of has me hopeful that they're figuring out something. So we're going to get some points here. And yeah, I opened way too low. I was happy with that. If you don't catch the Sunday show, you should catch the Sunday show, because sometimes we catch an early number that works out pretty well like this. And of course, this game ends like 12-9 or something. But I feel good about getting closing line value no matter what has happened so far this season.
Yeah, and Mark brings up a good point, which is the fundamental truth of any middle shot. Because I had one with the Tennessee Titans last week, and I wrestled with that all Sunday. Like, man, like I have a high frequency of this landing 6 or 7, and I had 7.5 in pocket with the Jets. Ultimately passed because I didn't think that laying the 5.5 with the Titans was a plus EV bet. And if the other side is not a plus EV bet, then there's really no reason to make that bet, because if you make 2 bets, guess what? You paid the vig twice. And I think ultimately I'm fine standing pat on 43.5. Glad we got that CLV. And a lot of things about this matchup lend themselves to the over. Jets defense, the number of plays that they were subject to.
93 defensive plays followed by a trip across the ocean where you are subjecting yourself to an airplane seat rather than an ice bath. And truthfully, like, what we saw from Zach Wilson was hopeful. We saw some good things, but he's still a high variance quarterback that could absolutely throw a touchdown to the other team.
Absolutely. And I probably should have to the Titans, honestly. But the key, though, of the Zach Wilson experience is if you can get pressure on him, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, game is over. Okay? If you cannot generate pressure on him, he's going to make some wily plays, and he will hurt you down the field. He'll take some shots. He's directing traffic out there. He's flagging Corey Davis to go down. He's going to chuck it 50 yards over the mountains. And ultimately he did that against the Tennessee Titans. And I think he can do that against this Falcons defense for sure. The Falcons match up well against the Jets defense. Yeah. And the Falcons match up well against this Jets defense, independent of the fatigue angle. The Jets don't have Marcus May available in this one. The Jets were limited by injuries in that game against the Titans. They lost a couple guys, and really, like, they've been kind of getting by just by playing hard. That tends to run out at times. And here they are playing in a new stadium in a foreign
I was going to say,
land.
somebody brought up the All-22. We'll see what the All-22 will look like from Twickenham. Or not Twickenham. Tottenham.
Tottenham. Yeah, thank you.
No more rugby stadiums whatsoever.
Right.
So Pitt's props. It might be a bit of a tight end funnel. And Brandon, I'd see makes a good point here. Falcons defense is bad. Jets defense bad. Yes. That's very true. That's where I was wondering why it was a little low. I think they're underrating these offenses a little, but we're on to Tampa Bay.
Did you have an opinion on the side there, by the way? 3.5?
Jets 3.5 was fine. If
the move from 3.5 to 3 was warranted?
Understood and warranted, I think. Just with the Zach Wilson turning out to be semi-competent at times while still wild. Like, they have some pieces there. It's still a bad team, but it's not like Atlanta has much to write home about. Okay. Speaking of Tampa should win that division because Atlanta and New Orleans are playing so poorly. Miami really, really looked really, really bad. They lost a receiver early. That's not helping a quarterback who's already struggling. And really, I want to put a lot of it on the Colts. Shout out to the Colts and their offensive play calling. Hey, we have a all-world running back that really doesn't get a lot of credit, and we can run on this defense. This defense is runnable, onable, and they ranable on them, bulls them. They used a lot of Jonathan Taylor, and it worked. It looked good. They held the ball a lot. If you look at that time of possession, it was pretty lopsided, although Miami did help that also by, just not sustaining drives, not doing much with the ball outside of the second half when they had some stuff. So, this one, 10 makes sense to me. I'm actually probably showing a little Miami value. No, I have this 11.
Wow. Really?
I really had to make a quarterback only adjustment to Miami with Brissett in right now. Like, they aren't making good decisions with either the play calling has gotten conservative because of him, or he is just not comfortable making decisions in that offense. The offense is not moving, and they're going to be down a receiver. So, I mean, they had 3 decent options at receiver and a decent tight end, but boy, this is not something I want to get involved with. I don't care if I show value on the Bucs. I'm not laying it. This is probably a bit much for a team that I think I left the Tampa Bay power rating nice and high just because I don't know how much of a downgrade I'm going to make for a cluster injury right now. I just said I'm not downgrading them, and I just won't bet on their games because they legitimately have a bad cluster injury in this secondary with a concussion that's probably not going to heal this week. And another, who's the other guy? They have Winfield's concussed.
Winfield out matters a massive amount for me.
Yeah.
Carlton may be back. Jamel Dean.
Carlton
not. Dean
Carlton,
maybe.
I don't think so.
I meant
Dean,
Dean
yes.
maybe. Dean maybe.
That's what I was thinking of. Carlton and Winfield out.
But Murphy Bunting, no. Winfield matters, no. I think realistically the cluster injury I think is huge here. And independent of the cluster injury, this line reflects a pretty aggressive adjustment. The Dolphins were pretty heavily backed last week. Like, that was the hot side against the Colts, and they performed poorly. And because of that, there has now been a big old shift away. Like, well, we're downgrading this team pretty aggressively. That's an overreaction, in my opinion. The preseason look ahead for this game was 7.5. Granted, that was with Tua, not Brissett, but that was with a healthy and a lot better than they have performed pass defense expected for the Buccaneers. And the fact that it has been adjusted out now to 10 is an over adjustment, in my opinion. If you're wondering who was out there betting the Dolphins moving this number in, I was among them. And I think this is a 1-score game. I think for the time being, that's the way the Buccaneers intend to play. Like, we'll pull out just enough to get these wins, particularly at home. But I don't think that they're going to boat race this Dolphins team, which has a notably good defense and a scheme that's not all that different than what Belichick just, tested these guys and did a great job testing Brady with. You watched that Sunday Night Football game, obviously. You noted properly at halftime that Mac Jones can get whatever he wants in the air in that game. But for some stupid reason, the Patriots still didn't go for it on 4th and 3. That's a discussion for a different day, probably. But I don't see Flores making those mistakes. I see this being a relatively aggressive passing attack here for Miami. Their running game is nothing to write home about. And if you can't run the ball and you look at these defensive strengths that you're facing, it doesn't take a football genius to say, okay, well, our approach is going to be pass heavy this week, guys. And I think that's exactly how Miami comes into this game. I think they're going to find more success than they did against the Colts. And I think this is going to be a sweat for anyone who's teasing Bucks, who has Bucks in a moneyline parlay, who has Bucks futures like myself. I think this is going to be another sweaty, close game. Brady gets enough done in late fourth quarter to get the win, yes, but to get a cover with 10 points is too much to ask.
It is tough. That's where I'm no way, shape, or form am I thinking about laying it with the Bucks. I just do worry about the Miami game plan. Well, it's obvious to us they should attack these corners deep. I'm just not seeing them doing that and that's something they should have done against the Colts, and it didn't happen. And these these linebackers can cover. If you're going to try to just get the little stuff over the middle, you don't have the 2 tight ends that the Patriots have. And honestly, you don't have, I don't know. There's a lot of things they don't have, the Patriots don't have. I think you're in a good position. If you can get a 10.5, it's not a bad look. I think I'll probably be live betting this game for sure, because I do think we don't see some sort of blowout here, especially with a bad secondary like that. You're super susceptible to a backdoor, especially if it's if it's a 14-point game. It's like the last drive for the Eagles. We were talking about that off air.
Sure.
Kansas City didn't give a flying shit if they scored on that drive.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. They were up by 3 scores. When you're up 2-3, when you're up 2 scores with like a minute left, it's going to be one of those where things get soft in an already soft secondary. So I like your bet. I just don't have the stomach to back it. So.
Okay. Tom Brady has been a little loose with the football. This Miami Dolphins team is a good takeaway-y kind of a team. I'm not saying that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on upset alert here, but 10 points was just too much for me to walk away from. So best of luck, Dolphins. Let's talk Philly heading to Carolina. No action. 1-3 Eagles at the Panthers, who are 3-1, and the line would tell you that there's not a huge gap between these teams. I don't disagree. I think the Philly defense is very questionable, obviously, as noted by the fact that both Dallas and Kansas City just filleted them. Problem is, Dallas and Kansas City are the number 1 and number 2 offense in the NFL, and it's not fucking close. So the fact that defense got exposed was not a surprise. And I don't think they're going to acquit themselves as poorly against this Carolina team that is still very suspect when it comes to aggressive passing down the field. Sam Darnold is giving you this is a quarterback we've seen a lot now. And it's not just Sam Darnold. It's a lot of guys have kind of gone through this mold where drop them on a good team with a good offensive coordinator with some good weapons. And there's a couple things that they can obviously like, oh, this guy might be good. And then he's in a tough game where he's going to have to put up points and they're giving him downfield. And he's either not taking those opportunities or he's not coming close to converting them. And that's where Darnold is right now. And if all of those chances, all of those big plays that Mahomes just managed against the Philadelphia defense, if Darnold is not willing to take those or cannot complete those, then this is probably going to be a close game. And I think that is why there's been market movement on Philly from 4 down to 3.5, or was it did it up in 5?
No, I don't know. I have this. My open on this was 3.5. It went to 4 and
down to 3.5.
3.5. I may get 3.8.
Okay.
I'm 5. So good number, guys. Good job, books. You did it.
Good job.
I really did like the Eagles offense, in semi-neutral states where they weren't down, 3 scores. They looked good at times with a young quarterback, and they're still kind of figuring it out. The Carolina offense, obviously it was a big ask for them last week when they were, you're missing a corner off the bat. You're going to have, the best offense in the league. Both these teams played a really, really sick ass offense last week, and they got lit up essentially, and that's tough. And I think out of these two, if I had to back one of these offenses right now, I'm probably backing the Eagles, and they're the away team, and they're getting a few points. This one does not interest me in any way, shape, or form with how well I think I think Carolina probably a little bit of an overreaction. Like, oh man, they got just shithoused by the Cowboys. So it's like,
well, Philly did 2 weeks ago.
Carolina's still a good team. They're just not on the level of, Dallas, Tampa, KC, Buffalo. Like, they're going to get shithoused by good teams. And I think they can absolutely hang with a team like this. And this is a one where you're not going to feel good having either side of this late in the fourth quarter. Like, it's going to be I do believe this is a close game that's in doubt. This total's about right.
A little bit so my respect for I think the Philly offense is still somewhat risky, particularly when they have Lane Johnson on the field. And they might get Jordan Mailata back, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Possibility.
Possibly? Okay.
Getting the offensive line back would be big.
So the pass pro is potentially going to be there for Philly. Hurts is playing fine. Maybe not amazing. He's made some mistakes, obviously, but he's a move the chains kind of guy. Philly team total, 20.5. That seems low. This Carolina defense is still exists. Their reputation still exists from these first 3 weeks where they played Sam Darnold. They played Jameis Winston And then they played.
It's on their team.
Oh, I'm sorry. They played Zach Wilson. Jameis Winston.
A mean
and
Freudian slip.
Davis Mills.
That was mean, is what it was. No, I get what you're saying. It's almost like the narrative we had on the Broncos last year.
It's still there's still a little bit of that. This Carolina defense is that, but they're dealing with injuries. They are. I don't think.
Yeah, and we're not getting CMC back.
Gilmore's not trotting out there.
No. They say week 7 with that. He's still this week he was eligible to come off the PUP, but his quad is still pretty tender. I guess he's going to need a couple more weeks before he's getting back. So. Hendo in, but
what do you think of Philly team total over 20.5 as the secret pod play?
Which way has this total been trending?
It has not gotten any action that I could tell you, but I will look here real quickly. It is down from 46.5 to 45, so it has come down 1.5 points.
Yeah, I'm not as frisky on that. We'll revisit this. We'll pick one at the end. We'll put a pin in this one.
Put a pin in this one. Okay. That's a good approach. Let's move on.
Showing a 20.5 minus 20 to the over on the one I just found. So I don't hate it because I'm with you. I like this offense quite a bit. We'll see how these hockey games go, and then we'll decide if I'm betting more. What are we on to next? New Orleans at Washington football team. We have sworn off New Orleans. We do not know what to make of this team.
Okay.
I mean, just the first 2 weeks alone, we saw, oh my God, this offense might click because we have an aggressive play caller, an aggressive quarterback, and some weapons, even without, one of their top receivers in the game. They have a very good running back who's a big part of the receiving game. And then we had week 2, and that was rough. And then we had, the last 2 weeks where I just can't really get a grip on this team. They were up 10 points late on a frisky Giants offense, but a Giants defense they should be able to do a little more against. So I don't know quite if we're ready to decide what we have in the New Orleans offense. And the defense has suffered a few injuries. That said, the Washington secondary is beatable. Very, very, very beatable. They have a very good pass rush, but you have a really good offensive line down in New Orleans. Like if you can neutralize the one part of their defense that's good, you can really, really pick on this secondary. So I think this total might be a titch low because I haven't hated what I saw from just the Washington offense, even though it was against a pretty rough defense in Atlanta. I think the total's a little low, but I'm probably staying off this one.
Yeah. My numbers say bet New Orleans, but again, I am with you. I can't get a read at all. The zigzag of amazing against Green Bay, piss poor against Carolina, amazing defense against New England, and then a defense that couldn't stop Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett to save their lives against the Giants at home. It's been a weird year. It's been a very difficult read. I don't know what's going on with these guys. I don't want any part of these games, but for what it's worth, if you care at all, my number on this one says the Saints ought to be 3-point favorites.
Mine's 3.2. Like I should be betting this game.
And
there's no way I can.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same read.
This could be a Saints team total, honestly. If we're going to go 20, it'll be 22. They'd be like at 23 points. Like, I think they get their points, but it's not something I want to take. It's not something I want to get involved with. So this is a hard skip game.
Yeah, I see 23 flat. I also pass. Okay.
Pass on grass, guys.
Pass on grass, guys. And football team keeps getting bet. Finally, this is the first time this season that the line is moving away from them. Is that right?
Yeah, they've taken some steam the first couple. Yeah, people were martingale it. Remember?
They were martingale. They finally got their win, and they've had enough. They've had enough football team. They've had enough Taylor Heineke in their lives.
Here's a good question from Sean.
Yes,
and I don't know which one he is in this picture because that's a unisex name. So we'll just call them Sean. Where do you have the Saints ranked? And what would you put them at the plus minus as far as the rank, aka 15th or plus minus 5, minus 5? I can check. I have the Saints probably pretty close to the middle. Yeah, they're just kind of right in that second to third tier.
I have the Saints 16, and I would say plus 5, minus 10.
Plus 5, minus 10. What's that mean?
Like,
I thought he was asking compared to an average team.
Yeah, no. I have them 16th. their ceiling for me is 11th. Their floor for me is 26th.
I got them 14th, point and a half better than an average team.
Okay. Nothing about what's going on with this offense. Like it feels like Sean Payton's trying to do something crazy and creative and be different, but in reality, it's just a hot mess. And I don't really know if the Washington football team could have a get right spot any day now, and on defense, and they still have a pass rush that is spooky. I can't believe it did not matter whatsoever against Atlanta last week.
Atlanta's, yeah, that's what makes me think like New Orleans. We're gonna regret not taking New Orleans because Atlanta has a very bad offensive line, and Matt Ryan isn't as mobile as he was, when he was playing for BC in the '80s. We have a decent offensive line and a fairly mobile quarterback. I don't think this pass rush gets home, and the secondary is beatable. So I'm gonna watch this game. I'll definitely live bet this game once I know which version of the Saints come out of the tunnel.
This is not based on inside information, and I don't have a theory.
I'm listening.
Washington football team defense impacted at all by whatever's going on with the strength and conditioning coach?
I mean, distractions are distractions, but I mean, we'll get to distractions in the next game.
Okay. But even more than distractions, you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not getting the treatment that they need to be right for playing well on Sunday because the DEA is kind of like hanging around.
Yeah. Having honestly, we're going to joke about the Urban Meyer stuff, but having the feds raid your facility is kind of worrisome too. If you need a reason to not back the football team this weekend, the feds raid the facility. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah,
Matt Ryan did throw the Hail Mary against the U. I loved Matt Ryan in college. He was a fun player. So Tennessee, Jacksonville. Didn't pay attention. Saw some stuff coming out of Jacksonville. I didn't read the articles, but apparently coach had himself a weekend. I bet Tennessee -3.5. If you follow along, if you were here on Sunday, I took this. It's gone up. It had nothing to do with the distractions. Honestly, it was just a number for me. It certainly didn't hurt. But I made Tennessee -5.6. I have Jacksonville severely downgraded in a few places. And I actually liked what I saw from Trevor Lawrence a couple times on Thursday night. They get extra rest. There's a little bit of an advantage. But
yeah,
Tennessee should be heads and shoulders above them. And, man, if you can get one receiver back and healthy, this is going to be a half-decent offense again. So I am we're getting Urban Meyer jokes in the
they're funny.
They're funny. Like that poor guy. Like I want him to get fired for money for me, but also like I kind of feel bad for him. Like I put myself in his shoes, which is something that's a handicapping technique you do.
Yes.
And I thought about like having those meetings with the team when you got back.
Oh God.
Like, think about the worst, like you go to, like you have to break up with a girlfriend or you got in big trouble at school and your parents know and you're going to get home. Like that, the worst conversation you've ever had to have with someone. And then I can't imagine like having to go face the team. Like, yeah, fuck
was that
guys.
a real story or a fake story about the Jaguars in practice breaking the huddle with grind?
They did. I saw the video.
That was real though. That wasn't documented.
Yeah, there were some people that were grinning after it too. Like I think he lost the locker room 6 weeks ago, and this was a mess. And Femi brings up a point. He couldn't even do it in front of the whole team at once. He had multiple meetings. I think that would be worse to have to do it over and over. That's like one of those scenarios in Dante's Inferno where you keep doing the same thing you hate over and over.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, why complicate your life like this? Why? I cannot understand it. I am
back to the football field.
I am not objective about the situation whatsoever. It's obvious that Urban Meyer has been like this for a long time. A lot of reports and stories came out about his Florida time in the wake of this that were like, oh, okay, now I get it. He and his wife obviously have some sort of open relationship where he wouldn't be out in public doing this. And his relationship with this woman in particular does not look random, but all of that is fine. Doesn't impact the handicap of this game, but losing the locker room does. And I'm not objective. I want to see him out. I would love to see him be the first coach relieved of his duties for monetary purposes. And so I am happy to pile on to the misery with Urban Meyer here. And honestly, this is setting up for one of the most delightful things that we get as sports fans, which is
leave him on the tarmac.
Which is next week, Urban Meyer takes this team on the road to London to face the Miami Dolphins. Tua is probably back in that game. And if they lose this game, and if they lose that game, if they are 0-6, good night, Urban Meyer. Leave him on the tarmac. They leave him in London. He goes and does whatever he wants to do, and then signs with USC or whoever next year and is back in college. That's obviously where he belongs in terms of his kind of way he operates a program. He is not doing the CEO thing that he was promising to do when he came to the Jaguars at all. And he does not have the respect of the men in that locker room, which means the likelihood that this defense comes out and plays hard against the Derrick Henry rush attack, I don't know about that. I don't know who's putting their season on the line trying to stop Derrick Henry in this game. And oh, by the way, the defense stinks anyway. On top of the fact that on top of the fact that you're probably going to get some wide receivers back from Tennessee. Tennessee can't rush the passer
nor cover receivers. It's not going to be an easy cover. I don't think this is some blowout, but I just can't get this blow of like 5.
It's not going to be an easy cover, but we should see similar situation where Trevor Lawrence has time to operate. He can pick some guys. He can pick apart this pass defense, which doesn't have great coverage and can't rush the passer. This was an easy over fire. I fired on over 48. It was one of those that you walk away and you're like, oh, that one I felt pretty good about.
This is good too. They're talking about just leaving him in London. Patrick here, McCann says Khan will just make him coach Fulham. Can you imagine that? Like some sort of
full on Ted Lasso.
No, just like a horny Ted Lasso.
Horny Ted Lasso.
Just horny old Ted Lasso. And like that would be some sort of weird spin-off. Oh my God. You don't leave him in London. If you are watching this from London, know that he's coming. You have time. Hide your wives, hide your daughters. Yeah. Urban's coming to town. And yes, I don't see this defense getting up for this game. I like some of the things Trevor's done. I like your over position, but Titans team total over or Titans, kind of a nice Cinemax Ted Lasso. That's a good spot.
I would love for the Titans to cover, but realistically, just win. Just get a win. You don't have to embarrass them. Just get a win here so that we set up the leave him in London. Please give us that hope.
I don't think they'd actually do that. That's terrible. What they did. What happened?
Raiders did it to Lane Kiffin.
I know what happened to Lane Kiffin was probably awful, and I'm not a Lane Kiffin apologist. Like that's fucked up.
Leave him in London.
Don't end up in the wrong part of London. I've watched the Green Street Hooligans or whatever. Man, there's some mean people over there.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
All right. Detroit, Minnesota. This is the other side of my teaser leg. This is getting steamed.
Just put a bow on the Urban Meyer era, please.
Let's put a bow on that Urban Meyer.
Yeah. All right. Detroit, Minnesota. Yeah. Wow. Steam, huh?
A lot of injuries keep coming out for Detroit. Yeah. Detroit really, 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 really probably should have covered that game against Chicago. They had 4 possessions that were inside the 10-yard line that yielded 0 combined points. That is actually pretty difficult to do. The fact that they didn't even cover a teaser leg is a crime. That's what you get. You get in bed with bad teams. Sometimes you end up with really, really bad results. I don't feel bad about playing Detroit. I would play that line again. It was incorrect. I don't think the Bill Lazor thing is a really big deal. Like if people are like, oh, I wish I'd have known he was calling plays. I would have backed the Bears. Like, nah, I didn't see a big difference last year when they let him. Like, it's not some like catastrophic difference between the offensive philosophy. Like we saw a couple more deep shots, but I think that's probably just a case of the Lions don't have a good defense. Like, yeah, you let this team play a bad defense, the Bears aren't going to look terrible. They're below average. maybe they're going to be a little better if Justin Fields gets his legs below him, gets his sea legs. But losing Montgomery isn't good once we get to Chicago. So they had their injury list was rough today. I think Mack and Hicks and a couple other people sat out. So the Bears injury list is looking bad, but so is Detroit's. Their center is now out. They're missing several pieces on the D line, and they weren't a good defense nor really an offense anyway. So Minnesota's probably a little undervalued just because they played a very good defense that absolutely stymied everything they did. My worries about Dalvin Cook are minimal because if he wants to play, he'll play. And I feel like what we're going to see is Dalvin Cook. He's not healthy enough to play. He plays anyway, but he splits. Like they just split with Madison. So he gets like 10 carries and it's fine because that's all he can handle at this point if he's still dinged up. Madison is an apt backup and they have two really good receivers. I think the Minnesota offense gets back on track. I'm not crazy about laying it here, but when this opened and I think it was down to 7, I make this 8. I make it just a shade over 8. I tease this. It feels really good to tease a home team here with a much, much, much better offense.
I make this 9. The line move was correct. And somebody asking what happened today was mini -7.5, and now it's -9. Somebody did the math on how often Minnesota wins by 3 or more and realized that the teaser protection needed to be applied ASAP because
it's going on. Put the brakes on here.
Because this we talked about it on Sunday. This is like the teaser leg of your dreams. Lions might cover. Hell, you know what we've learned about the Lions so far this year? Jared Goff is fine.
Right,
as long as he's indoors and his tiny hands aren't wet. If his tiny hands are wet and he's outdoors, he's going to fumble. He's going to make some bad decisions. He's going to make some poor passes, and he's going to take you out of the potential for a cover. And last time I checked, the Vikings play indoors. So maybe he's competitive here. Maybe he's fine. The likelihood that he is upright for a lot of this game, I think, is low because of the injuries to the offensive line. But the main issue here is Kirk Cousins and the wide receivers, man. Yes.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. We didn't say that about any of the teaser legs that have lost this year, as far as I can tell you. So maybe we're due. The general read, though, is Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins against this pass defense should have no resistance. And regardless of a minus EV approach that the offense rolls out there, regardless of whatever Jared Goff can do offensively, Minnesota's going to get theirs in this game. They're going to get some freaking points because that is a good offense. Their team total is 28.5 for crying out loud. Like this is a team that is going to score, which means can the Lions in comeback mode go score for score with the Vikings? Probably not. I think the Vikings are the right side. I think 8.5 is getting close to the fair number, as we just mentioned. Over 49.5 probably depends on the Lions scoring 20, which is iffy. But ultimately, the fact that you could get the Vikings under 3 is the way you want to attack this game. And
yep, very happy with this teaser. This is I usually don't place teasers this early, but once I saw it getting steamed, I'm like, oh no, they're going to the fire, Phil. Here's a game we're gonna skip, and we talked about it in the preamble a little. Denver Pittsburgh just has too many question marks around the. Let's run the 4 scenarios really quick, and these are going to be rapid fire. And I know this is difficult for both of us to do.
I'll get you on my number. You want my number for everyone?
Yes, I'm going to go some. Teddy Haskins.
Broncos 3. Broncos the right side.
Teddy Ben. I mean, this is the number then,
Broncos. Right? Broncos 2. Broncos are the right side.
All right, Ben Locke.
Steelers 1. Steelers are the right side.
I think, are we assuming that it's Ben is going to play hurt like always, and then Teddy's not getting out of concussion? I think the third one is what's assumed. And good point right here in the chat by Mark. Hawkinson is banged up too. Hawkinson is a big part of that offense for Detroit. Good point. I did miss that one. I saw that come across the wire. I think Anthony
Barr may or may not
play
go
too
for the Vikings. If he does not go, then Swift prop season is on.
Yeah, that'll be
get
their
your
whole offense.
Get your Swift passing yardage and passing receptions prop, because in the entire second half, I think he might get his number called 8 times. So
nine targets in the second half in comeback mode there. The last one would be Haskins lock.
I would make that one a pick 'em, and I think it is no right side.
The right side.
There is no right side.
The right side
is
is
no
to
right side.
not watch that game. God,
that one is
lock.
to bring back our scoring our soccer parlance. That one is nil draw. Yeah, I think
Both
we're talking about a nil draw. BTTS yeah.
Double result draw.
Yeah. I like the double result draw.
Double result. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Both teams to score no and under 2.5. Either way, however you want to attack that, but not a. I mean, it might be a fun game to talk about once we get to it or afterwards. But right now, with the most important position on the field being in doubt for both teams, we can't really get too deep into this.
No.
And it's a shit game. So let's move to the second half of the slate. Yep. And that starts with Green Bay at Cincinnati, which was another Sunday night bet for us. We took over 49. It has ticked up a little. Jair Alexander.
51's key.
Yeah, 51. There's some 51.5s in the market, honestly. Jair Alexander is not only trending towards not playing, he's trending towards not playing for the rest of the season.
Oh, really?
There's a chance if he has surgery on that shoulder, that AC joint injury.
Really?
He might not play the rest of the year.
Where the fuck were they in the Stephon Gilmore sweepstakes then?
Exactly. They should have been bigly in that. There was a couple teams. So, but anyway, the Alexander thing, to tie back to what our conversation started with on the pod, that helps your Dallas. That helps your Dallasing. One piece on a defense does not move a number. But over the course of a season, it definitely makes a difference, and it would make a big difference in a playoff matchup between a team with those kind of receivers. So, Jair Alexander, and this is a good point by Mr. Lackman here. There were teams that couldn't pay him. If you wanted to make the trade, you had to take on the contract. So there was only a certain amount of teams that could actually take on kind of a bad contract.
How in the world are the Packers up against the cap?
I don't think because of Aaron's contract. I don't think they're up against it badly. It's big enough. It's a big enough contract where they probably didn't want it.
It's just restructured it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's ways around that.
Bengals in the and maybe that's a reason. Femi brings up he doesn't understand the Bengals love. I get and I've said this multiple times. Burrow looks like he's been in the league for 5 years. He looks poised. He looks ready to play. They still don't have an offensive line. They still don't have a very good, complete offense. Mixon is dinged up, and the defense still leaves a little bit to desired, although it's played better than I thought it would preseason. They are not in the same class as Green Bay. I'm not quite sure why Bengals are getting money outside of maybe the Packers being a little dinged up on the defense and, the Bengals staying in this game, being able to keep it close. I'm much more interested in them doing that and, just getting some points, contributing to this over. Green Bay this is another one, Green Bay in plus territory, like a positive game state for Green Bay would be great. I'd love a bunch of garbage time for Cincinnati, just slinging it. I really do like the Burrow to Chase thing. Like the big joke in the preseason was that they didn't take Penny Sewell, who's hurt. Another injury we didn't mention, but Penny Sewell being hurt kind of makes you laugh. The fact that even though we don't laugh about injuries, but all the jokes they made about not taking him and taking Chase instead, that Burrow would just be on his back. Chase looks great. He's going to be a big part of this offense going forward. And what do you make this line? Because I am just a shade over. I'm a shade over 3. I'm like 3.5. I'm not massive on this. I don't have a reason to downgrade the Bengals yet.
I'm at 6.5.
I did see that you had Green Bay a lot higher than me when we compared top 5s this morning
and
this afternoon.
Honestly, the preseason number was 6.5. I can't really tell you that you ought to make an adjustment on either of those teams, really, given what we've seen so far. The Bengals offense has been frisky. You want to upgrade them? Sure. Their defense has been disappointing. I'm fine downgrading them. Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers after that week 1 stinker they've been exactly as advertised. He's carried his MVP form into weeks 2, 3, and 4, no problem. Green Bay's defense looks like long term, I like their concepts better than last year under Joe Barry. But the lack of Jair Alexander matters for sure. But thankfully, they look like they hit on Eric Stokes. That kid can play. He is a rookie, and he looks solid. The problem is without Jair out there, and they like to run light sets. A lot of Kevin King, a lot of guys' names I don't recognize here down that depth.
Yeah, and Kevin King legitimately sucks at times.
Yeah, then
he's okay at times, but there's times where
need
it's like
really solid makeup
lost.
play out of Darnell Savage, out of Adrian Amos,
Preston
you were
Smith,
hoping
teams would throw at Jair. Like, teams are throwing at Jair. They don't know any better. What are they doing? Like, that's how you get 3 and outs. That's how you get off the field. Like, continuing to throw at Kevin King is how you keep drives going. I looked week 1. If these guys would have played week 1, I'd have made it Green Bay -5. So I have a cumulative 1.5 adjustment between the two teams, and I think it's probably 3/4 of it's upgrading Cincinnati a little. I was low on them to start the season, so I'm at 3.5 here.
So peeling back a little layer of my process, I have an expected percentile performance for every team, not just like what are they going to perform average on as a normal team, but within their range. Where do I think they're going to land? And I incorporate stuff like rest. I incorporate stuff like injuries. All that stuff is in there. I think the Green Bay Packers are likely to perform lower than their median. I'm at the 33rd percentile here because of the injury situations on defense, because of the offensive line injuries, because of the second week in a row on the road. For the Bengals, I have them expected to perform at the 84th percentile because they're getting players back in the wide receiving core. They are at home for the second straight week, and they have extra rest coming off of Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
84th percentile Bengals, 33rd percentile Packers. I'm still at 3.5. So I laid the 3.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do make an adjustment for the extra rest. So if these two teams were playing off a Sunday, it would be closer to a shade over 4. I'm incorporating both the rest spots for the Bengals and against Green Bay. So, on a neutral, I'm probably closer, but again, I'm not anywhere near you on here, and I think I'm just a little lower on Green Bay still, and I haven't really made a strong adjustment for Jair, but it kept me from upgrading him this week.
Okay.
Because I felt like they left a lot of points on the field. They could have probably beaten Pittsburgh by a bunch more.
Yeah, I think so too. And ultimately,
that really wasn't. And they were up again going into the fourth quarter. They were up by 3 scores. What are you going to do? You don't need to, keep the pedal to the metal against Big Ben in that offense. They were fine. They were fine in that game. It was just hard to upgrade them when they got
Pittsburgh
injured.
threw the kitchen sink at you in their first 15 plays, and they got a touchdown. And you were playing from behind 0-7 and you still covered your touchdown spread. I think the Packers are the right side. I can't get involved with the Bengals price here. No way. This is Packers or pass. I took a small position on Packers, but ultimately I think our Sunday look on the over was the correct, better look in the way if you want to bet this game. If you want to bet this next game, the New England Patriots at the Houston Texans, call 1-800-GAMBLER. There are
1-800
people. There are people you can talk to about
when the fun stops.
There are people you can talk to about this. We're not making jokes. This is an easy game to not be involved with. The Texans with Davis Mills are probably the right side at 9. I can't imagine the Patriots with their current offensive iteration are worth laying 9 points on the road to anyone. We were talking pre-production.
I need to do a Stephen A. Although
what's your power rating on them? -10, -11. It's a big low. It's a big negative number.
A shade under 10. It's really hard to get. I didn't think I'd be downgrading this team again, but man, that like 5 turnovers, 100, I don't know how many yards and penalties. Like they didn't do anything right, even in garbage time. They looked so bad. Davis Mills not gonna make it. And like Brandon Cooks,
Not this
well,
week.
I
at
was saying
least.
I felt bad for him. You brought out a point, like he has a Super Bowl ring. I don't feel as bad for him now, but yeah, honestly, let's just move on to this one. What do you make this number right now? Because I'm probably going to show
the
I'm pretty
preseason.
close.
The preseason look ahead was New England -6. My number is 7.5.
I'm at 7.3, and in no way, shape, or form am I thinking of taking Houston. So yeah, maybe some Cooks overs. That's not awful. I mean, although that secondary isn't horrid.
You know what?
It's not good.
Yeah, what we want is what Papa Cal's just said. We want Mac Jones to put up 4 touchdowns and revitalize his Rookie of the Year campaign. Please. If not now, when? Mac Jones is the question. Although, did you see the Patriots offensive line injury report? Oh my God.
It wasn't good.
Everybody's fucking hurt.
4/5, I believe, were on the report this morning.
If you're thinking of teasing the Patriots, if this is this 8.5 some places? I think this falls in the wrong zone. Low ass, super duper low ass total. 8.5 down to 2.5.
If there was ever a home favorite, it would be in a total with 40.
Shit, I wanted to go fast past this one, but there's two. The teaser question is important. Are you teasing them if they're 8.5?
If they're closing 8.5, I'll probably have to find them in a couple. Just even though it is a road favorite, which are a little sketchy sometimes, this total is so low, and I've just seen so little from the Texans.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the first question. Second question: are you considering the Patriots in Survivor?
Yeah, Minnesota and New England are some teams I'll be using.
Okay, I like Minnesota better, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm probably going to try to use 2 or 3 teams this week, and Minnesota and New England are a couple of them. And Mac looking a little more comfortable in that offense. So I think this offense could be dangerous again for even a rookie because they invested in tight ends, and he has like double safety blankets for him and a good schemer for that sort of offense. So this could be a fun little offense against teams that are as good as them or worse. New England isn't going to surprise and beat really good teams, although they almost did in a rain-soaked game.
Are you ready for this? I think you have to use Minnesota in Survivor this week and save New England.
What do we got for them? I don't look at the grids. I just go by gut.
Week 17. New England hosts the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you have
I'm going to be in it that late.
If you are, that's one you need in your pocket. Don't you think?
I'll probably use Minnesota. I have 6 entries. I'm going to use 4 Minnesotas and 2 New Englands. We're going to mix it up.
Okay.
So
because at that point,
Lions.
your other choices are going to be the Niners against Houston, Buffalo against Atlanta, Seattle against Detroit, or Tampa against the Jets. I will have used all those teams.
I hate to presume the situations around late games like that they won't mean anything. There'll be some weird injury that'll open up a leg for it later.
This is week 17 is now no longer the last week of the season.
No, but it's still the fact that there have been times where week 16 has been a dead week for teams that made enough headway. So
by the way, just looking at some of the spreads potentially for week 17 might suck. That might be a real bad week.
I hate looking that far ahead and having negative thoughts. Drew, come on. Dude, Chicago at Las Vegas.
There's going to be 5 games lined over a touchdown in that one.
Maybe. Right now, again, we're like 4 months from that.
Anyway, Minnesota's my highest.
Don't you worry your pretty little head about that.
Minnesota's my highest EV this week for Survivor, if you wondered.
The Raiders got away from what made them successful the first 3 weeks and decided to run the ball on first, second, and third down with an injured running back against a good defensive line right after we said a bunch of nice things about our guy, Chucky, John Gruden. Unbelievable that they would just slap us in the face like that. Not surprising. I really that's what I took away from that game on their side, although they got frisky in the second half for a couple drives and part of a third. Really, really, really tough to play against this Chargers defense right now. I said pre-game or pre-week look ahead, I showed a little value on Cleveland. I don't anymore. And when we get to that game, no interest in this one. The only thing keeping Chicago from being the laughingstock coach and front office of this league is the Jaguars at this point. Nagy just instantly changing his mind about quarterbacks midstream, which is probably making the right choice, but making it weird by announcing Andy's in. And I sent this to one of my guys at work. I made the epic handshake meme, and it was one arm was Matt Nagy and one arm was BETSPERTS, and the handshake, it said, "Putting way too much faith in Andy." Like, I almost felt bad. I'm like, really shitting on myself.
This is a self-deprecating humor is usually well received. It's usually well received.
But I did not understand the move to, like, hey, we're going with Andy. No. They're making the right call, but I don't think I know enough about what we're going to get from Justin Fields in this offense against. I didn't know there'd be a lot of times where we say the Raiders' defense is better, but they are better than the Lions at certain points. And I think they match up a little better in certain spots, especially if you have a hurt running back one and a rookie quarterback. This is a game that I'm not interested in. This is a low total for a reason. I'm at a 5 here, and I think the total is probably fair.
Okay. I can't really make a strong argument against that. The easy pass, because I don't really understand either of these
just
teams.
Like speaking of Chicago, that's what you need for the tools.
Actually, easy pass, yeah. Our friend Femi made a great point today on Twitter. I don't know if you saw his tweet, but he was basically
blocked.
Oh, go. He was basically like, way to waste an entire 5 months where you could have been giving Justin Fields first team snaps, reps.
Oh yeah, it's not the first time a franchise has done this with a rookie.
Absolutely,
won't be the
insanely
last.
Stupid, insanely stupid. And what has it gotten you? Well, I guess you're 2-2. Well, both of those wins ultimately came with Justin Fields under center at the end of the game. I know that Andy started week 2, but yeah, I mean, it is mind bending that they didn't use the offseason and preseason to give Fields more reps, considering what they gave up for him to draft him.
Here's a good game. Speaking of games that are better than this, are you betting this? I'm not.
I did something stupid and I bet it on the side and the total. So I have double exposure on this one. At first, I fired on Cleveland because I was like, this is a good money line spot. At them at plus money, this is going to flip. Then I kind of reviewed the total and my numbers, and I was like, oh shit, this is a great under look, and I fired on the under. And then today's injury report came out, and like a dozen players on the defense who matter for the Browns were not practicing, and that sucks. And I'm concerned now that I'm going to get double smoked on this one, which is going to suck. I was very excited about the Browns' defensive performances the last 2 weeks, particularly last week. And because that was a real test. It was a real test, and they absolutely passed. And this is another real test. This is another real test with a good coaching staff. They may not be using all of the field yet, but they at least are using all 4 downs appropriately, that we learned from Brandon Staley. This is a letdown spot for the Chargers, in my opinion, having played 2 divisional games and getting 2 divisional wins, and now you're hosting Cleveland before you're going on the road to Baltimore next week. How about this little fucking stretch for the Chargers, by the way? Chiefs, Raiders, Browns, Ravens, all 4 in a row. I don't know what they did to deserve that in that little cluster of games, but really tough test for your boys and Justin Herbert MVP campaign.
I can't. I love both teams so much. I don't know how I even get involved in this.
Casey Brown brings up a great point that no one's practicing
on Wednesday this week.
I'm super, super hopeful that the Browns are pulling some Patriots bullshit and that all of these guys are fine and good to go, and that they're just giving them a day off, but declaring them like, hey, that guy had a calf, that guy had a hip, that guy had a back, that guy had a shoulder. Just to give some of their vets time to regroup after what was a really hard, because that was a hard defensive performance for them against the Vikings. Yeah. Like they left a lot out there on the field, and now they got to go on the road again. Second week in a row on the road. This one's a little bit more difficult travel spot. They're flying out to the West Coast. I think I stepped in it in both my plays on this one. I wish I could take them back. I could probably buy out of them still. I think I'm on Browns money line at plus 108.
You could probably get out.
I'm on under 47.5, so I could get on over 46 and hope it lands 47.
or take a plus number alternate and just
might.
completely wash out. Yeah, I'm not betting this game, but this will be one I'm very, very excited to watch. If the Browns are healthy, they're in this game. The Chargers have really, really, and I said this, everyone wants to talk about Herbert and Staley, but like this defense might be the better defense on the field Sunday, which is something to say.
I'm definitely buying out of this total.
Another thing, everyone's talking about this, but they should be talking about this. Everyone, years ago, it was like, oh, the McVay and the Kingsbury and even Shanahan a little, although he's not as young, like these young hip coaches. Like, no, apparently it was Staley. Like we were a half generation too early. It was Staley and Stefanski that we were waiting for. These are the true young, smart coaches of our generation, and I love them both. Not getting involved. Speaking of young, smart coaches, the Dallas Cowboys will be hosting the Giants, and Mike McCarthy does not fall into that category, but despite him, this offense is what was promised. This is what we thought we'd saw last year. Drew and I, mid-summer, when we were doing previews, were arguing on should we bet McCarthy Coach of the Year or Dallas highest scoring offense, and none of it even mattered because Dak got hurt. The entire offensive line got hurt. Most of the defense that was decent got hurt. The defense wasn't good to begin with. I think we lost a receiver. Did Zeke miss time? It honestly doesn't matter at this point. We all know what happened to that NFC East last year. Dallas was supposed to be this prolific offense. I think they were favorites to be. It was like second or third favorites behind the Chiefs and maybe one other team to be highest scoring offense. And boy, I'm just like relieved to finally see this. I hate seeing good teams suck, like because of injuries.
Oh yeah, I know.
And it's not like I'm some Cowboys fan. Like it's an awful bandwagon fan base, really. And I know some Cowboys fans. It's annoying. Like the Cowboys Super Bowl jokes are hilarious when they Cowboys last Super Bowl and it's pictures of VHS tapes. Yeah, it's been a while, but man,
I had one of those from Sports Illustrated.
This team can compete. This team can absolutely compete. But again, like the Giants offense is much, much better than we thought it would be. I've said nice things about some of the running plays they've drawn up for Dimes, but he's throwing the ball better than I thought. And really without a ton of great weapons around him outside of Saquon. So Dallas at the Giants, 7's probably – so 7 is not too much because it's such a good offense and because this Cowboys or Giants defense has been banged up a little. Dallas's point scoring distribution has a long tail that finds its way into the 50s at the very end of it. Dallas could absolutely take this total over themselves if the conditions are right. So this 7 is, although it's like if it's a median projection, it's one of those median mean things where you really, really might be playing with some dangerous wood if you were. I don't know, what was that for an analogy? I
don't know.
Dangerous matches? I don't know what I was trying to say there. You're playing with fire. That's what matches are when you want to take Giants +7 because it could be the right side up and down the field on Sunday, and the Giants could lose by 21 because this offense is really, really unstoppable when they get going at times. So I'm sketched out about this game and I'm not getting involved. Total's nice and high. If this game starts slow or if the Giants were to go out to a lead, I'd probably be looking at some live overs.
No interest in Cowboys team total over 29.5. Do you think they get to 30?
I think some of it depends. I think the Urban Meyer joke. I love it. I think some of it depends on what the Giants do. The Giants, and again, this is another surprise. What we expected was the Cowboys offense to be very good. What we didn't expect and we got was several pieces of this Cowboys defense to be decent. Obviously, Diggs is getting a lot of play because he's getting a counting stat in interceptions, but it's not just that. He's very good. They've had a little bit of a pass rush. The linebackers aren't horrible anymore. Like, it's not a good defense, but it's not. I mean, how bad was this defense last year? Bottom
5.
3? Yeah, it was 5. Very, 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 very bad. So
Jags were worse. There was a couple teams that were worse.
At times, the Raiders were
Yeah. Falcons were worse at times.
It was a bottom 5 defense. And if it can be middle of the pack, this offense can absolutely take them and beat anybody in the league, really. That's why we did take them to win the NFC. And I'm not going to lay it with them. If this is sitting around a touchdown and you love just teasing shit, not a bad teaser leg.
I'll tell you why I think the Cowboys team total over is still live, regardless of what the Dallas defense does in this game. And by the way, we should mention Micah Parsons, defensive rookie of the year. That's probably a wrap, or at least if he stays healthy, that's his to lose. When the Cowboys play the Eagles, they did not take their foot off their throats. They played through it. In fact, it was 27-14. The Cowboys then went and scored on back-to-back touchdowns. Both of them were passing touchdowns by Dak Prescott to go up 34-14, to go up 41-14. So there's not like this, like if it's 20, let's say it's 24-3 in the third quarter, and you're like, God damn it, we need one more touchdown from Dallas.
Pollard
even going to try. Yeah, Pollard might break one. Zeke might break one. Like, he's looked a lot fresher. The offensive line's winning their 1v1s.
Here's a question. Is there a better spot for Dallas than Survivor? Probably.
I'm holding them for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, some Survivor leagues, especially if you played Circa, requires you to take a Thanksgiving game. So some people are probably saving them for Thanksgiving. If you're not in that kind of league, it's not a bad leg. Not a bad choice, however you want to call it.
They get a couple of decent spots later this season. Expecting them to be better than, and also playing with Survivor although I can't even say that because I like
divisional games.
Division.
Divisional games
But yeah,
I'm more sketched out by divisional games early, like week 1, week 2. You don't want to use divisional games.
I'm sketched out by divisional games that involve an opponent who is somewhat frisky, and the Giants are somewhat frisky. Their offense might not be quite as bad as they looked against the Broncos and against the, and actually after the Broncos game, the Giants offense has been putting up, respectable performances. They lost to the Falcons, obviously, but they got a lot of yards in that game. They were just failures in the red zone. That offense did remarkably well against what we know to be a good defense last week in New Orleans. Was it fluky? Possibly. But I don't think you can get too over your skis here with Dallas and Survivor. Maybe save them for week 10. Week 10, there's not a lot of good choices, and they get Atlanta at home. They'll probably be 8.5-point favorites. So
yeah,
that's what I would do.
Not betting this though. This is a live bet game for me. Or if you made me bet this game, I would take Dallas -14 or something. Just give me a big Dallas alternate spread on like 14.5, like plus whatever you'd give me on that.
So you're not looking for Dallas over team total over?
No. I'm agreeing with you on that. But if you,
is that a better look than Philly at 20.5?
It's a lot of points, and I do worry that that it could slow down later. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna have to look into that a little. That might actually be a bet, rather than just secret team total bet, which those have been crushing. I've remembered to bet them this year. I forgot to bet them so many times last year because we were on the pod.
Sure.
And it screws me up when they hit. I get all mad, but no, I still like Philly better, I think.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Couple left.
Yeah.
One more divisional. Every week, NFC West teams are just going to play each other in a battle royale. The Niners and the Cardinals, the red hot Cardinals at home, 5.5. Niners took money. Niners are taking money. Yeah. This, if there's a 6, you should bet it. Like, let's just say it. I make this like 4. And I upgraded the Falcons. I would never do that. Sorry, Dan. I upgraded the Cardinals. I mixed up my birds, and I can't make a big downgrade for the Niners. I don't think it matters which quarterback's in. Really, I'm not seeing a big jump in play either way. So, Niners +6 is probably a play here. I'm going to hunt around. these divisional games, like we joked about taking the dog every time, but they're going to make me take the dog every time somehow.
If they're overreacting week in, week out, yeah, you have to.
And truthfully, like maybe this is the dumbest thing I'll say on the pod outside of the already dumb shit I said, but like, it's not like they're strangers to the stadium. They played in it like 6 times last year.
Yeah, they went there for a whole month. Yeah,
they lived
in Arizona for a whole month. They spent Christmas in Arizona.
Yeah, this is like a home away from home. It's not a big travel spot. The Niners are not in a bad spot here, despite what happened last week. And yeah, I can't get this near this number. So
this is like deja vu all over again. Last year, the Niners in week 5 were coming off of an embarrassing loss to the Miami Dolphins at home. You remember that? And then they drew the Rams the next week. And the look ahead and the preseason look ahead was like Niners by 3. And then the game showed up and it was Niners plus 3.5. And it was like, huh? Like that can't be. Like that. You can't have a swing like that. This is the same kind of thing. This swung from the look ahead across 3 to 6, which is bananas in and of itself. This swung from the preseason expectation of pick 'em to 6, which is to have a math model tell you that the Cardinals are a plus EV play here. You literally cannot incorporate any preseason prior that was anywhere close to market. In fact, your math model, if you do incorporate a prior and you have a math model that tells you that the Cardinals are the right side of 5.5 or 6, you've already got all of the Cardinals futures in your pocket, and you probably are thinking, why would I double down when laying all these points? Because your prior was so off market in the first place. Like, does what I'm saying make sense? Like, this is just it's a map.
You do. Like, we're at that week 3, week 4, week 5 are kind of the parts of the season where I start to deviate to the point where I'm almost to 50-50 prior versus my eye test, my stats, my numbers I'm running, the numbers I'm scraping from this season.
Okay.
And yeah, just I can't get them this different. Like I can't make them this different.
Can't make them. It's that's the
like,
point.
I can't
make this
big of a gap.
So basically, you look at this market, and without even running a number, without even keeping a power number, it is obvious this is Niners or pass. Okay, which then brings the question to Niners
tickle that money line
or pass. Niners or pass, and there are reasons you might want to pass. It's important to probably point some of these reasons out. They could be starting a rookie quarterback in his first ever start on the road. In fact, they probably are. I'm kind of expecting that they are.
I'm
assuming they will. And it is also possible that Trey Lance is not ready to take an NFL, to start an NFL game. That is possible. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has told us as much the way he's handling this situation. And I guess I am fine looking past that because the running game here, particularly with Trey Lance under center, should be virtually unstoppable. Like the RPOs that they can run with Trey Lance under center should be so lethal in this game that the Niners should be able to put a lot of scoreboard pressure on the Cardinals on offense alone. Even if Trey Lance looks, skipping passes every third or fourth pass, which is what he did last week in relief effort, by the way, where he wasn't expecting to go out there. That said, the matchup then and the win on the money line probably comes down to, can the Niners defense contain Kyler Murray? And to this point in the season, no one has been able to do that.
Nobody doing that.
But you have 2 edge rushers going up against a weak offensive line. You have a little bit better Kyler Murray stopper in Fred Warner than you have had any other team to this point on the field.
Yeah, he's top 2 or 3 for what he does right now for me.
Yeah,
probably top 2.
Sure. Yeah, and this is the time. This is the kind of game he should be able to shine. Similarly, Cliff Kingsbury's teams have never fared well against the Niners. They got that one upset win week 1 last year that was somewhat fluky, but then later in the season, with their playoff fortunes at stake against a backup quarterback, they were helpless. against the 49ers. And I think realistically, I mean, even if Jimmy Garoppolo trots out there on a bum calf and is somewhat limited, I still think Arizona is going to have a tough time going score for score with this Niners team, considering how well they've been defended in the past. And honestly, the Niners defense is at a stronger state now from a personnel standpoint than they were December 26th last year when they held them to 12 points.
Even at the end of last year where people were just kind of, they were not a team we were thinking about. They were still really, really hurt. It's not like they got players back at the end. They ended the season with more players on IR than anyone has ever ended a season since the start of the IR being a thing. I read that in the Football Outsiders. Maybe it was second most. Either way, it was horrible. And brings up an division under. I worry about that a little just with the dynamics on both offenses.
I think you said this on.
If this was sitting at 52, I'd think about it. But this number's probably about right.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said it on the Sunday pod too, which is that you might only get one chance this season to sell high on this Arizona Cardinals team, and they are at the top of their range in terms of how good they actually are and how the market is perceiving them. So the most likely outcome this weekend is that the Niners cover the spread and that the market adjusts the Cardinals back down into their range as opposed to at the upper limit. And
I have the Cardinals a lot higher than I thought I would at this point of the year. I have them right there with Baltimore and the Rams, really.
And honestly, I would love nothing more than the Browns to eke out a win, the Niners to upset the Cardinals, and then to get some value on Kyler Murray next week as a dog going up against the Cleveland Browns. That'd be a fun spot to come in and grab some Cardinals, honestly. So this is the arc we're hoping for here. Baker Mayfield
I took some 6 today, so I'm on it. I can't not be.
All right, good job. Good work. Let's go.
Are you
on
it? Team deep dive?
Yeah, this is the biggest. So. This is the biggest position I have on the card this week.
I don't make sense of this number. Last time I didn't make sense of a number though. It was the Raiders +3. So here we go. Buffalo at KC. We disagree on this one. Let's end with a disagreement.
Ooh.
I make this a pick, and you do not.
No.
Tell me why. I have Buffalo as my top team. I have Buffalo ahead of Tampa. Wow. I have Buffalo ahead of KC. It's not by a lot, but I don't have a big home field for anybody. KC is a good home field place. It's a good crowd, good stadium. It's not that bad of a travel spot. I don't have anything real situationally except for I'm looking at Indy. Indy has an awful travel situational. We get to that on Sunday. We'll talk Monday Night Football here, but I have Buffalo roughly almost a point better than KC on a neutral, and I make home field about a point. So I make this a pick 'em. I should be taking the Bills, but a 3 is not as valuable at 56.5 as it is at a 40. So I don't see a lot of reason to get in the way of this offense that hasn't even really gotten its feet under it yet, especially if it's going to be getting a little healthier. I don't give a shit about the defense. I don't think it's ever going to be good this year. If this could be a back and forth game where it depends who kicked the field goal and who is going up by 3 when they're scoring and who's going up by 4 when they're scoring. It's almost like a tennis match. Well, who served first? Who's going to win this set 6-3 rather than 6-4? I don't have interest in getting involved here outside of a money line. I may still be talked into a Bills money line, a Bills team total over. I think I like that the most because I can get that and they can still lose by 15 points for all I care. But Bills as a dog here, you're talking 25, 28.5, and then 28.25. So a 27 on the Bills. They didn't even look that good last week. They looked disinterested. I think maybe the first pass was a pick for Josh Allen. It was definitely the first drive. He didn't even look very sharp, and they put up 40. This offense, it's not like KC is Houston, but how much higher do you have this defense than Houston's? It's not a top half of the league offense or defense, excuse me. The KC defense is very suspect, and Buffalo will get theirs. I have no interest in getting too involved in this outside of a team total or just Bills straight up. If Bills get behind, I might take this live. If Bills get behind, I might take Bills team total again live. Tell me why you're betting the Chiefs, Chief.
So, Bills are Chiefs light. We said that a lot during the preseason previews. The Bills are. Now you have Bills as Chiefs heavy. Huh? Wow.
Well, Bills have a defense. It's not as good as it was, but it's still. Are you going to say the Buffalo defense is worse than Kansas City's?
No.
In this matchup, who is the better defense?
I'm saying that if there's any unit that is coming into this matchup as overrated, it is almost certainly the Bills defense, because to this point in the season, they have faced Ben Roethlisberger, who they made look kind of good, at least in the second half of that game. They have faced Jacoby Brissett. They have faced Taylor Heineke, and they have faced Davis Mills.
Playing down to your opponent.
They've done well. They've done well against that unit. Their metrics look great, but they haven't played nobody. And
the Bills haven't played nobody.
They ain't played nobody. And then on the flip side, if there is a unit that is coming into this matchup somewhat underrated, I have it as a coin toss between the Chiefs offense and the Chiefs defense. And you can look at me and say, how in the world could the Chiefs offense be underrated? And I would tell you that they have had some fluky turnovers that have suppressed some of their advanced metrics to the tune of, you kind of do a little bit of sort of, obviously this is data mining and, a little bit of, cooking the books to a degree, taking out the turnovers. And you see, like, this is a historically good offense. Yeah. And the Chiefs defense has also faced some extremely tough competition so far this season. They've had to go up against the Browns, the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are 4 top half of the league offenses. 3 of those, I would say, are top 10 offenses. So now you face the Bills. The Bills, in my opinion, and Josh Allen specifically, looks to have taken a small step backwards this year. His completion percentage over expectation through 4 weeks last year, it was 9.2. Through 4 weeks this year, it is league average, 3.2. And in fact, his full season sample last year, including the winter months, was almost 8. And now he has taken a decent step backwards despite being in the same offensive system with similar, if not better, weapons to pass with. And to a degree, I think we're getting confirmation that Allen is not himself from the way that Bills are calling the game. They are actually trying to work on the running game. They are trying to get Moss and Singletary more involved out there. And honestly, I loved their old approach of just pass when then more pass. But they're they're tipping their hand a little bit that they're like, well, we might need actually to run sometimes. And I have a concern about the Bills going score for score here with the Chiefs. And I have no concern that the Chiefs are going to get their points in this matchup, because this game, if we go back in time, was Chiefs minus 170 at the AFC Championship game. Same venue, neutral situation, both teams coming off of, performing, playing the previous week. Except Pat Mahomes had a foot injury and a concussion or neck injury that he was dealing with heading into that game. And his mobility, his ability to, break the pocket and use his legs was completely in question. It turned out that didn't matter, because whenever he needed a first down or a score, Travis Kelce was uncoverable by that linebacking core. And now you have a Bills defense that has injuries to Milano, to Pryor, to even Trey White. If Trey White is not 100% and he's expected to go toe-to-toe with Tyreek Hill, who is the best skill position player in football right now, I don't see it happening. I think this could potentially be one-way traffic here for Kansas City again. And the fact that you're getting a better price on Kansas City today than last winter, when Mahomes was banged up and the offensive line was in tatters, is not reflecting a fair price. And did the Bills go to the freaking workshop and come up with a million different exotic looks that haven't been seen before?
That's where I'm going to interrupt you there.
Today, possibly.
That's where I'm going to
might
interrupt you
happen.
because I don't think you saw. Like, why would you show anything last week in a game? You would never show anything. I really and that's where I'm at. Like you said, hey, they played some tough teams. Yeah, they gave up 29 to the Browns, and it should have been more. They lost to the Ravens, giving up 36. They gave up 30 to the Chargers at home. The Eagles game, I'm not going to count the 30 because some of it was garbage. I don't want to give the Eagles too much credit for the garbage points, but at times a bad coach in Sirianni, I'm just going to say it, and a young quarterback, we're not sure, looked pretty competent. I don't think we've seen the best of the Bills. I don't really subscribe to the CPOE over a short sample size, like 4 games. And I think I am not going to bet the Bills. I'm not betting the Bills money line. I will bet the Bills team.
Well, you should if you think they're the better team.
I don't think in a game where I have these teams this close with a total that probably should be 60. Okay. I'm going to get a lot. I'm not getting like that. Some huge, in a smaller total game, like a plus 120 feels pretty good. Like I have a lot of value on this team. This is just such a high variance game with 2 offenses that might just really go back and forth. Because I still think I'm very much lower on the KC defense than you, and I'm still just based on the results, honestly. And really, I'm not that high on the Buffalo defense. I think they're better. But I think the Kansas City offense is better. I think it's strength on strength, strength on weakness. I do have the Kansas City defense downgraded a little, and I really think a really good coaching staff might have been saving up a little for this game. And you've not seen some of the wrinkles. Although obviously the Steelers game bothers me. Like the Steelers game makes no sense, but teams have
week
have
one.
clunkers.
You got to throw out week 1 to a degree. I think.
And this is I'll probably get talked into a Bills money line. If I want Bills money line, I want KC with the ball first. I want to bet them when they're down 7 because this is going to be good. This is going to be a good back and forth. Okay. Man, I should just take an over and cheer. Like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a small amount of money. This is not a real bet. Just I'm going to put a little on this over just because that will be fun. Like, if you don't want this game to end like 42-41, then you don't like football.
Oh, yeah. No.
You don't.
I'm very much
45-41 for your case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, that's a good point. I got 2.5. Oh, by the way, that's the other important part about this. I laid 2.5, not 3.
Yeah.
And does that matter?
A little more exciting.
Doesn't matter as much with the super high total.
It matters though.
But I got a flat 2.5. I did not.
It matters for something.
And honestly, and I had a good discussion with the guy who was asking what's better, 2.5 or 3 right now, because he added a couple bucks. For this game, I think 3 with the cheaper price is better now currently because of the high total. And there's going to be to get to if the expectation when you have a 57-point total is that there's going to be about 10 scoring drives, and the number of combinations that you need to land exactly on 3 when you have 10 scoring drives is a little random. It's a little more random. So
we'll cut her here in a second because it is getting late. But a good question from Sean. Yeah, he says if the Bills were going to save something for KC, wouldn't they save it for when they play KC in the playoffs? I understand the point, but at the same time, this is such a massive game for seeding.
Yeah, it's enormous.
And it's you basically so big. And the fact that the one, you almost certainly would have a very, very inside track in the 1 seed. And the 1 seed is so important right now because of the way they do things without anybody else getting a bye. Having that and then making people come to Buffalo in the winter to play you would be so big. So I don't think you can hold back. Seeding is so huge. And yes, next week there'll be 4 teams on buys. So we'll be able to keep this under an hour and a half, maybe get to bed at a decent time. I don't disagree with taking the 2.5. I think you got a good number and the market's, semi in agreement with you now as it's bouncing back. But I think you'll see good 2-way action on this. And the Dodgers just tied it up.
Ooh,
Justin Turner.
Can't wait. Let's go watch playoff baseball, man. I think both of our hockey players.
I was going to ask,
too, right?
was this the same Sean? Did he change his profile picture between the beginning of the pod and the end just because I joked about not knowing if it was the gal?
Oh,
that's pretty funny. If so, that's pretty funny. I respect the move for letting me know.
The real quick, I think both the hockey players won, right? Rangers and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh yeah, I parlayed them.
No, did you?
Well, I played them straight.
You didn't lay the puck lines? Oh no, I was just kidding.
I thought about it.
All right. I don't have much more to add, but we'll revisit this. How about we revisit this at halftime of the Bills game? How about that? Bills Chiefs.
Yeah. We'll have to. We'll be playing the second half on this game, so we'll touch base on that again.
This is a very, very good, important game. Yes.
And really, this week, 3 pretty solid primetime games.
Yeah.
Unless the Colts one. The Colts
we didn't
one
settle on a secret pod play.
Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any consideration? Colts team total under. Carson Wentz on the road in prime time
on his third straight road.
I don't have anything going Monday. I don't have anything going Monday.
Maybe a second secret pod play at halftime on Sunday. Who knows?
Let's hope that ticks up and we can get under 20 on the Colts for Monday Night Football. But the true secret pod play, we're gonna go Eagles over 20.5. That sounds fun. All right, let's go week 5. This is exciting. We are in regular season form now. The extended preseason is over.
We're full go. And I will mention that if you're doing anything with this, I don't think a lot of people probably take this into account because it isn't a really big deal, but there are the 2 London teams, the Falcons and the Jets, will be taking their bye next week, along with the Niners and Saints. So 4 teams on bye next week. So teams will be starting to head into their bye and then head out. And we don't take buys. No weeks off here. No. Thanks for everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
Thanks for everyone for watching, listening. Give it a thumbs up on the way out if you're watching this on YouTube and you made it this far.
Yep. All right.
Give it a thumbs up.
Best of luck. This is getting me in the mood to go to the islands, man. I might have to go out to Catalina this weekend.
I'm going to go hiking up by Red Wing, which is where they make Red Wing boots.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have those in California?